Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Biblical Prepping. I'm Judith Garton, and this is the prepper portion. And first, I want to apologize to everyone. I have been trying for about 3 weeks now to edit and adjust the sound in my bread video that I had made and I had promised. And I am here today because it was epic fail. So I have a new battery in the mic, and we are ready to rock and roll. The only bad news is my cafe mocha is not ready yet. And the coffee pot is so loud, the percolator on the stove, I've stopped it for right now. It hasn't even started to perk. I will actually put it back on the stove when I'm kneading the bread because I want my coffee this morning. Normally this part of the bread I do before I even hit the shower. This is the beginning stage of what I do. Now this bread dough is so simple. It only has a couple of ingredients, I should say a few ingredients, and it uses just what you have in your food storage. It is great to use this dough to make bagels, soft pretzels, dinner rolls. You can actually even, and I'm going to try it today, make a loaf that is similar to a sourdough loaf using the same type of dough. So simple to do. So today I'm going to do a number of different things. You can also use this to make pitas. Very simple to make pitas from this. So what are the ingredients? Well, we start with 5 cups of not Folgers coffee. This is my Prairie Gold flour from Wheat, Montana. This is my absolute favorite. There is no bread flour in this recipe. There is no white flour in this recipe. It is 100% ground whole wheat flour. So simple. And if I get the dough correct, which is also an epic fail from the previous video, if it's the right texture, it will be so light and so fluffy and so delicious. It's wonderful. Today I'm not going to actually make a regular loaf of bread in a bread pan. This dough is absolutely wonderful just as a simple baked loaf of bread. I want to try that sourdough style one, and I think that's going to take a lot of my dough because I also would like to show you how to make quick bagels and quick pretzels from this dough once it has risen its first rise. So let's just get started. So like I said, my flour, I use 5 cups of Prairie Gold. Now one little trick I'm going to show you is sometimes the wheat flour settles down in the container. It is so simple to just take an old-fashioned, just wire whisk. I say old-fashioned because it's, we have the Pampered Chef ones now and I love those. But this is perfect. Stick it down into the bottom and bring it up, just light and fluffy. I do that in lieu of sifting my flour. It's just quicker and easier. And I have extra flour over here I took out of the freezer last night, so that's ready to go too. And with my salt, we're going to measure out 5 cups. Now that flour you want to keep close by just in case you need to flour your bowl a tiny bit as you go along if the dough starts to stick. You do want a dough that is soft and lightly sticky but not too sticky. Next, I toss in a scant tablespoon of fast rise yeast. Now, you can use the old-fashioned yeast, that is fine. I prefer the fast rise because my days are so busy. I need to be quick. I had to step out for a minute because I had to grab my Pampered Chef digital thermometer. The next ingredient is salt. We use pink Himalayan. I add 1 teaspoon. I've been making bread for about 30 years, probably longer, and I know what a teaspoon looks like in my hand. So it's a teaspoon of salt, and I will I will put the recipe, a link to it in the description below, but it will be on biblicalprepping.com under the recipe section. And you should be able to print it there because I will also upload a PDF. And like I said, this is so simple. If you already know how to make bagels, soft pretzels, you can use this simple dough. Like I said, it's just ingredients from your food storage. Now the next ingredient is, after we start this up just a little bit, we're going to start it and mix in the dry ingredients together. I have here 1.5 cups of, we use whole milk, so milk. You can also use reconstituted powdered milk from your food storage if you don't have milk, access to milk. If you have no cows, goats, whatever, sheep, and you don't have a cup and a half of milk, you can always use powdered milk. In fact, the last recipe that I made in the failed video, I used part whole milk and part powdered milk. The powdered milk is fun. You can just add it with the dry ingredients and mix it up and then add your warm water. Now, my milk is cold, so we're going to heat it up just to about 95 degrees. It doesn't have to be 105 or 115 like some other recipes. Mainly that's because all my ingredients are warm and because I'm using the instant yeast. Now when this is mixing, as I add the milk to the bowl, if the dough is dry, I will have on hand filtered water in the measuring cup to add as needed, because it may not, 1.5 cups may not be enough. I usually use between 1.5 and 2 cups of milk or milk and water combination. One thing you have to learn is I'm at a higher elevation than a lot of people. I'm at over 3,000 feet, roughly about 3,400, give or take, depending on who measures it. So above 3,000 feet, I have to adjust my recipes a little bit from what standard recipes are. My temperatures can be a little bit lower and whatnot. So when it comes to moisture content, I have learned that from New York to New Jersey to West Virginia and even in Arizona when my mom used to make some breads, the humidity level is so different and so dramatically different that sometimes you may only use 1.5 cups of milk. Other times you might approach 2.25 cups. It depends. So we're going to wait until this warms up, and while that warms up, we're going to go ahead and turn this on. And I'm going to go get that filtered water. All right, we're ready to go. Now, I got a little bit higher than I intended to. I got up to about 99 degrees. That's not a problem. It'll be fine. Especially once I stir it in. Now, you'll have to forgive my mixer. I'm going to try not to talk too much over it because it can be loud. It's losing a few gears over here. It's supposed to have 10. I think I have 5 left. Some days I only have 3. I have super high and, you know, for whipping cream, and the 2 bottom ones. So we'll have to see how this goes today. Definitely in need of a new KitchenAid. All right, we're going to add our milk as it stirs. Now, one thing I know is I can tell it already needs a little bit of extra water. Just looking at it, it is humid today, very humid. Our humidity inside the house is actually about 60%, but I can tell that the dough is very shaggy, very dry. So I'm going to add just a little bit of water and then keep kneading. I should actually say mixing rather than kneading. This is the mixing part. You don't start kneading until you've got the dough together in a consistent ball. I have already added an extra 3/4 cup of water to this dough, so it is it was very dry. All right, it is pulling together in a ball, so we will start kneading soon. But you see how it's sticky? You want it a little sticky like this. It does stick to your fingers. You get some dough caught. You want it a little sticky like that, and then as you knead it, it should firm up. And this is why we wear an apron. And also why mine gets washed a lot. All right, it is pulled together in a nice ball. The next step is to knead the dough for 8 to 10 minutes with your mixer. You can also knead it by hand if you would like to do that. You can mix it by hand as well. I'm not going to knead it by hand. I'm going to knead it in the mixer bowl. And while that happens, I'm going to actually put my coffee pot percolator back on, and we're going to percolate our coffee. Now, you definitely don't want to cut short. You want to make sure that the dough hook is releasing the gluten in your dough. So what you want to do is make sure that you have it set for at least 8 minutes to knead. Then you're going to want to check the dough. Since this one is a little bit stiff today, I may only go the 8 minutes. I may go the full 10 before I see that the gluten is fully released. You'll learn over time how to recognize that, but I'm going to try and show you in this. Here we go. If you're using the mixer, make sure that you're only kneading at the lower settings, like setting 1 or 2, or what is recommended for your personal mixer. For the KitchenAid, I've always used pretty much a KitchenAid. I had a Sunbeam years and years ago. But the KitchenAid is my go-to now most of the time. The KitchenAid mixer, you should knead the dough with something like a KitchenAid for on setting 1 or 2. I need to stop and lift because the dough is stuck and not kneading. While that kneads, I'm going to go grab a warm, damp towel and my squirty bottle of extra virgin olive oil, and that'll be for the end process. My dough is actually a little bit too tough, so I'm actually going to end up adding another 1/4 cup of water. Definitely one of those days when I should have started with 2 cups of liquid. If you ever see me do my videos and you see my apron splattered with things, this is why, 'cause I'm just always wiping the hands on it. This is why I have 3 aprons. Alright, the coffee's perking, so this is good. It's going to end up perfect. Now that it's kneading a little bit better, let's take a quick inside look of the bowl and see what's going on. We're approaching the 10-minute mark and it's starting to look smooth. I blew right past the 8-minute mark because it just was not smooth on the exterior. Now it's starting to look like a smooth ball. It was still very shaggy around 8 minutes, and that was not too long after I had added the extra water, so it needed to fully absorb. Now it's looking really good. Want a dough that is elasticy, a little sticky, not too sticky, but that will shape a nice ball, and this does. I should have my hands damp, and they're not. Shaping it into a nice ball. Now what I do, I hate washing dishes. So I try to try to use as few dishes as possible. I'm going to take my dough ball. I squirted a little extra virgin olive oil in the bowl. Spin the dough ball around, just like so, and then flip it over to oil the bottom. And it's good to go. And the coffee's done. Perfect timing. We're going to cover it with the warm, damp linen towel and allow it to sit for 30 to 45 minutes depending. It's actually about 70 degrees over here by the stove. It's about 65 in the house. That's about where we keep our thermostat set. It's pretty chilly outside, so that's all we're going to do for right now. I'm going to actually go pour myself a cup of cafe mocha and go dry my hair and be back to show you what we're going to do next. All right, we're back and our dough has doubled in size. Now I'm going to show you a few different things to do with it. This dough is so versatile. Last night, this same dough, well, not literally the same dough, I used to make pizza. I'll take some pictures of that. It was real simple. We actually have leftovers for brunch for this morning. I'm going to make a couple of different things. I'm going to show you how to shape a bagel, how to shape a couple pretzels, and I'll be boiling those later. I'm also going to do a cloverleaf roll in my round muffin pan. I'll do 4 of those. I'm going to save half of this dough for a loaf of bread. And if I have enough dough left, I will also try another roll, because when I was drying my hair, I remembered I use the same dough for sweet rolls. Now, we don't like a lot of sugar. And because we don't like a lot of sugar, I don't need honey or sugar in this dough. And there is no sweetener in here, none at all. So it's just so versatile. There is a roll that I make that's called an orange butterflake roll. I haven't made them in years. If I have enough dough left after the bagels, the cloverleaf rolls, and the pretzels, I will try and make just a couple of the flake rolls. If you want to do the orange butterflake rolls, I will try and remember to put that recipe up as well on the website. You'll have to add orange flavoring of some kind, whether you do it through orange oil, orange flavoring that comes in a bottle, or through orange juice with some additional shredded orange peel to give it that added flavor, and then you put an orange frosting on top. I haven't made those in a long, long time, but if I have enough dough left, I'll show you the basic gist of forming them. So let's see what we got here. Now remember, I want to use half of this dough to make a loaf of bread. And that loaf is going to be put, for now, on this small pan to rise for probably an hour or two, depends on how big it gets. And then I'm going to put the Dutch oven in the oven upside down, and we're going to try that sourdough style bread. All right, here we go. Here's our ball. Put this aside for right now. Cut that in half. Now this will end up just being a small loaf, not too big. Not like some of my sourdough loaves that have taken up the entire interior. But this will be nice. Let me pop a couple of these bubbles here. Get those down. This will be a nice loaf for maybe a couple of grilled cheese sandwiches tomorrow. Or even for dinner tonight, maybe with some tomato soup. So I'm going to shape this a little oblong rather than fully round, because it's nice and small. There we go. Now that can start to rise. Now I said we were going to try some rolls and things, so here we go. All right. From this chunk, we're going to get, for forming a bagel, you want to roll your dough. Make sure you've got it nice and tight, pinched on the bottom really good. So you have, and then roll it in your hands. You want a nice round ball. Now some people will make a long worm and form it. I don't particularly care to do my bagels that way, because I find that I end up with some of them coming apart. But it's so simple to just take your thumb, push it in the middle, and stretch out the hole. So simple. And you have a nice bagel shape. You can smooth it around if you need to, if there's some sections that are too big or too wide. And there you go. You got your bagel. These both to be about the same size, so I'm going to shape this one. Again, pinch it, roll it really good, and then I start from the bottom usually, put my thumb up through, and then stretch it out. And it's as easy as that. This one's a little lumpier than the other one. The other one's a little more perfectly formed. Now I do see that the hole is rising a little bit in here, so we want to make that a little bigger. There we go. There's your two bagels. What about pretzels? Pretzels are so simple. For this, you want the worm. You want it to be about 12 inches long. Now both bagels and pretzels are boiled before baking. There's one little pretzel. He looks a little funny there. And we'll do another one. This one looks a little more normal than the other one. Not a lot. Those will rise. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of cloverleaf rolls. Which are so simple. Now the last time I made them, these are actually frozen. I was able to make, I used my square brownie pan from Pampered Chef. I made square ones and I made round ones. Today they're just going to be the round ones, real simple. You can just take a piece of dough, plop it, roll it up, plop it, piece of dough. Now you can add 3, 4, or more balls to this. A cloverleaf roll is generally 3 or 4, but you can actually make even more balls inside, and then it just becomes a pull-apart roll. I'm using 4, 5, 6 in this one. Now the side of the muffin tin will push it upward. I'll show you these in a minute when I get them all 4 of them done. That little piece of dough is a little too small to use. Add a little bit to a couple of them. Almost dropped that one. Now you're going to want to let your pretzels and your bagels rise until about double, not quite. And then they will rise a little bit more in the water while you boil them. And these are more like flour rolls right in there. There we go. They'll be pull-apart rolls when they're done. They're going to rise. And then we're going to put this down so my board doesn't slide while I roll it. This is my damp towel. These will also be pull-apart rolls, and they will also end up in that muffin tin. All right, this one, you roll this out. You want to roll it as thin as you can get it. And this type of a roll, you're going to want to move quickly when it comes to cutting and shaping. And the reason why you want it square is because you're going to end up stacking the dough. So you want it as square as you can get it. Next, you want some butter and a spatula. Now what you do is you put your butter on your dough. Do not put butter on this end because that's going to be an outside edge. And you don't want the butter to burn in your pan. So you want to spread your butter to right about there. Now the really neat thing about the orange butterflake rolls, if you love cranberries, this is a nice time to put in some diced, finely chopped cranberries in the middle. So if you got your orange dough and you're going to put orange frosting on top, you can throw in some cranberries and that'll add to your flavor. Now for this, normally I use a pizza cutter, but it's dirty from last night's dinner. So we're going to use my bench scraper. And you want to cut about 2 inches wide all the way across, like so. And then you just want to start stacking your dough, like so. Try not to stretch your dough as you're pulling it up, because you want to get an even number of pull-apart rolls. And you want the dough to match at the edges. And this is why I said don't butter this piece here. All right. Now, you see you have your little stack of dough. And now I'm going to cut this into 4 rolls, and they'll go into, you know what, I might put this in the square pan. Just to see how they turn out. This is the Pampered Chef brownie pan. So let's see how, I've never baked them in here. I always bake them in the round one, and they don't quite fit in the round muffin tin. So we want to make sure we have 4 rolls. As I'm trying to do these like so. There we go. Let me just put 1. Slip sliding away with that butter. 2. 3. Now the inside cooks a little slower, so I'm going to put the smaller ones in the middle. There we go. And the bigger ones on the outside edge. There we go. Now, these are also going to have to rise until double. So we'll set all of those here. I am going to cover at least the bread. The other things should be ready in just a bit, but the bread's going to be the one that takes a little bit longer to rise. So I got to rewarm my linen, and I'll cover that. And these should be ready in probably about a half an hour or so to either go into the oven or into the water and then into the oven. Now, Jim's got appointments this afternoon, so those are going to be silent movie parts where I do that, or in between appointments, probably silent movie. We'll see how it goes. And that's how my days usually are. So that's how we're going to work it. And then I will show you the finished products. And then when this is ready to go in, I will also do a quick little silent movie and show you how that one is going to go. We're going to need to remember to split it before we put it in the Dutch oven, which I have to dig the Dutch oven out from that corner. So that's it for now. We'll be back in a bit. While the water's getting ready to boil for the bagels and the pretzels, I ran into a little dilemma. I'm going to have to heat up the Dutch oven at 450. It's going to have to heat for at least 25 minutes to get it good and hot. I put our Dutch oven in upside down. This is actually the part I'm going to bake on. So I'll be putting it in the oven now because my bread rose really fast. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay, what you're going to want to do is carefully remove these, like so. And place in your boiling water. without burning your fingers. Count to 45, flip them, count to 45. Pop them into the heated toaster oven. The bagels and the pretzels will cook at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. So let's see how that goes. Oh, I forgot to show you. It's not hot yet. This is how they look. Tip it just a little bit, so they don't slide off out of the water. I'll take a picture. These will be done right about the time I have to slice the bread and put it into the Dutch oven. This timing is really rolling along here. So I'm going to shut off the mic and the camera, and we'll be back in 20 minutes.